Ow! Ow. I'm okay. I think I'm okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil the Conquistadork, Mr. Dork if you're nasty, and this is C14 Dating. I think we got a dating sim on our hands. Who would have thunk it? I'm not normally a dating sim guy, but I have to admit I'm fairly intrigued. If only because the game seems to wear what it is so heavily on its sleeve, and it's got full soundtrack too. So let's take a look. Let's get started. See what kind of mischief we can get into. Why not? All right, mini games. I didn't know there were mini games. Would you like to turn off mini games? Unable to complete a journey. I want mini games. Why wouldn't I want mini games? Okay. Right. Original font dialogue. Alternative. You can use an alternate font and dialogue look if you do not like the current one. I think this is fine. Let's just start the game. Ah! Is this it? Glanced at the map, which highlighted road names along with a star next to my destination. After comparing, I came to the conclusion this wasn't the place. Oh, okay, you're just going to keep going. All right, fine. Village Corners, Clustered, Muse Resort, Pause, Meyer, Pretty Gardens, oddly calm despite having over 5,000 miles from my California home. Reality being in another country had yet to sink in. Up ahead, there was a clearing separated from the road by a fence. On the other side, a few tents were stationed behind a two-story building. I spotted an open chained gate with a billboard in front of the driveway. It said Grotte de Calan Entrée. That's the place. Is that me? I'm pretty. I'm very pretty. You're gonna leave me with that much time for that's the place? Okay, maybe it was the play button. I needed to stop the play button. The only figure stood by the entrance. She was currently talking to a middle-aged man. When she saw me, she gave me a cheerful wave as I ran up to her. Okay, that's what it is then. Okay. Sherry! With one hand on my bag handle. My bag handle. That is an interesting... I've never heard that before. Bag handle. I exchanged a half embrace with my professor. I didn't know you already arrived. If you called me, I would have come and picked you up at the train station. You mentioned that the cave wasn't far, so I wanted to soak in the scenery and enjoy the sights. I'm glad you made it safely. Was it difficult taking the train? Bitch, yeah. I mean, no. Well, I did try to practice my French at the ticket station until the person said that he could speak English. He pointed me in the right direction. At least you'll be able to brush up on your French. You'll find it's not too different from Spanish. What? Look, I don't speak French, but I cannot at all agree that it's completely... that it's not too different from Spanish. That's interesting. I groaned inwardly. My Spanish wasn't the most fluent, but I mentioned it in my interview when discussing how I would cope with staying in Belgium without knowing French. Okay? Glanced around, then turned to Sherry. Where's Paige? Didn't she say she'd be arriving earlier today, or was that tomorrow? I got an email from her yesterday saying that there was a family emergency. She won't be able to participate this summer. I failed to hide my disappointment. Paige was the other student from my university who planned to attend this field school. We even worked out trips to do every weekend during our stay. I mustered up a weak smile. It's understandable. Can't be helped if it's family. Oh. Then it would just be me. Sherry gestured to the other person present to change the subject. Before I forget, let me introduce you to Professor Augustin Dupont, Chief Archaeologist of Callan Cave. I eagerly extend my arm for a handshake. Everything I heard about Mr. Dupont was from Sherry, and she mentioned that he was a revered Belgian archaeologist. It's an honor to meet you. I'm Melissa Flores, a junior. I look forward to seeing Sherry students every summer. It's a pleasure to meet you. Mr. Dupont spoke with a heavy French accent, but I had no trouble comprehending him. Have you gone over everything with Sherry? When the students from Liège arrive tonight, they'll get their first lecture before dinner. Okay. Yes, I'll still attend the lecture, though. If I was going to be submerged in the language, I might as well start by hanging out with the local students. Mr. Dupont eyed my suitcase. It must have been a tiring trip. Come, we'll show you around the back. Students will be spending the weekdays here. In tents. Delicious, delicious tents. We reached the clearing and I spotted the same tents. Most clustered around the perimeter against the bushes, and a few were closer to the building. Feel free to pick one. Those are for students who don't own their own tents or air mattresses, or couldn't bring them. Alright, I think, I don't care. The chief archaeologist gave a nod, then excused himself. He probably had other matters to attend to before the students arrived. I studied the tents next to the building and thought about my phone, which was still in airplane mode. Okay. How's the Wi-Fi here? If you stay in that tent, you might get Wi-Fi. It doesn't extend much here in the back. If you brought a laptop, you can leave it in the laboratory. It's been done before. Everything gets locked up at night, though, for safekeeping. Fair enough. At least I can keep in touch with my parents. My evil, evil parents. Once you're finished, come back to the front, and I'll give you a tour of the front. That's a odd way of putting it. Will we get to see the cave today? It's already locked, so you have to wait until tomorrow. We locked the cave! Will wonders never cease? And the anticipation builds. I'm in a yellow tent. I thanked her and started unpacking. There was already a mattress, pillow, and sleeping bag in place, and it only took a few moments to settle in. Done! Grabbing a small storage bag, I zipped my tent and hurried over to the front of the building. Anyway, this is the main entrance. I'll take you to the... She opened the door, and my eyes widened when I saw display after display. So it was a museum, and a remarkably tiny one. After one loop, I was already back to the entrance. I wanted to examine the displays more, but I figured I'd have more free time later. Sherry and I ascended the stairs by the entrance. This room, it's more of a multi-purpose room. It can be used for lectures, and it's where findings are cleaned if the weather isn't suitable outside. I cradled the storage bag, wondering how to bring up the question. Fortunately, Sherry noticed. Something important in there? The extra insulin I won't be using yet. It needs to avoid extreme temperatures. Is there somewhere safe I can store it? Ah, of course. Thank you for reminding me. Feel free to use the indoor kitchen since it's restricted to staff members. Augustin has granted you access since he knows you're diabetic. She led me to the back, giving me a chance to store the insulin bottles in the fridge. God, I forgot how much talking there are in these things. And to conclude the tour, this is the lab. This is where most of the research takes place. How many students will be here? It varies. There can be as many as 40, or as few as 20. Students from Liège are required to devote at least 4 weeks working at an archaeological site, regardless of their major. Therefore, we may get a lot of music and art students too. The other students should be arriving soon. How's the jet lag? Not bad so far, a little fatigued, but nothing else. I'm going to be up all night, aren't I? Worst case scenario, I'll give you an extra day to prepare yourself for the dig. You have reviewed the material I've given you, right? Yes, I've looked at it. You haven't looked at it. Look at your face. You're lying. I can tell you're lying because of the weird drop of liquidy liquid on your cheek. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? It's been a month since my last lecture. Okay, now we get to finally say something. Let's see. Neanderthal or Neanderthal? I'm going to ask about the itinerary. What's the schedule exactly? How long does the dig go till? It's ongoing until the end of August, and you'll be leaving at the end of next month, was it? Right, on a Saturday. I know only 4 weeks are required for the field school, but I thought I'll learn more if I stayed for 8. Dates aside, breakfast is served in the morning at 7:30, cave and lab activities go from 8 to noon, and then there's an hour for lunch. Activities resume from 1 to 5. Dinner starts at 7. We spank you at 8, hospital beds at 8:30, and then you drink coffee all night long until you burst into song and dance and crush your skull in the caves. At least that's how it tends to work for us. On the weekends, both students and the excavation team leave for home. The cave and museum are locked up during this time. The back of the building will be accessible to you, of course, and if you prefer, you can sleep on the second floor if you don't like the idea of sleeping outside alone. Again, I'm sorry if it's just you. Usually get more students in this, but I keep killing them, and it just people don't want to return. They just don't do it. I'll be okay on my own, I promise. Go over the field school rating system. Did you bring a journal? Bitch, you know I did. Essentially, I'll be grading you on your performance both in the cave and working at the lab. I'd like you to record your findings and experiences in this journal. I expect it to be turned in every Friday evening, and I'll give it back the following Monday. If you're sick, you're allowed to miss some days. I won't deduct marks for that. However, there's no excuse for playing truant. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's hooky. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means you just fucking left. You're not doing your work. You just left. You left. Don't forget to take breaks often when you excavate in the cave. There's a risk of getting hypoxia due to less oxygen. I'm not just marking your academics, I'll also be seeing how often you volunteer. Volunteer. Yes. Students use the outdoor kitchen and are in charge of preparing the meals along with the cleanup that follows. I don't expect you to volunteer all of the time, since that does cut into your excavation and lab time, but once in a while is ideal. What about Augustin? Is Augustin easy to get along with? He seems friendly and evil. He is for the most part, but he's like an overprotective father when it comes to the cave. He's been supervising it for over 2 decades and is the leading expert. It's his baby. Ellipses. I'll be helping you, of course. As far as I'm concerned, you're my student, not his. Any problems that come up, I'll discuss with you personally. I meekly nodded, although now I was worried about making a mistake. After all, this was new to me. What else? How long have you been digging here? Me? I started working with Augustin about 10 years ago. We go way back. That's how I established the Kalen Cave internship. Our university has developed a reputation for bringing over exceptional students. And it's just me this year. I hope I'm able to live up to expectations. I'm sure you'll do fine. Awesome. Cave. Remind me about the site again. I know it's famous for discovering the remains of Neanderthal dating back 125,000 years ago. Correct. The site has established 2 Neanderthal occupations from different times. This is mainly a Middle Paleolithic site, with sediments ranging from 300,000 years old to as recent as 4,000 years. Getting all sciencey and shit. I dig it. Nice. I can't wait to discover a tooth or something. If you do, it'll likely belong to a cave bear. Or Augustin. He is getting very, very old. Cave bear. Those remains found often. Yes, 99% of all fauna, animal, remains collected are cave bear. I like that they felt the need to explain what fauna was, that it's an animal, as opposed to like Paleolithic and all that other shit. But fauna, we gotta figure out what the fuck a fauna is. Even so, I'm sure that's something. Not many people can say they dug up cave bear. Right? Neanderthal or Neanderthal? You use Neanderthal. I've always heard it as Neanderthal. Is it a preference? A preference, and there's no H sound when it's pronounced in French and German. It's something that I picked up when I started working in Europe. However, both are accepted spellings in academic journals. Here it'll be referred to as Neanderthal. Right, Neanderthal it is. Neander short. Neander of medium height. That's awful, I apologize. That's all. I think I'm good for now. Great, however, if any new questions come up, feel free to ask. We heard activity outside, complete with loud voices and footsteps on the gravel. It sounds like the students from Liège are here. Augustin will start the lecture soon. Huh. No chance to unpack or get ready or anything like that? No, all of the students were given instructions on when to arrive. Punctuality is valued greatly here. He'll lecture now and the students will settle in after. I'll be on my way. Oh God. Alright, some students stood, while others sat on the stone tiles in front of the building. Many of them just felt the need to show off their muscles in their asshole sailor shirts. You've never been on a ship, you've never captained, you don't even know what an anchor is. You think it's a weird-looking snake tongue or something. You're fucking fake, and I hate you. Sorry. But they all formed a semicircle around Augustin. There were about 30 faces, and I wondered how the camping grounds would contain them all. They fell silent when Augustin began to speak. Although I picked up keywords such as archaeology, grotte, and sediment, much of it was lost on me. He repeated calcaire a lot too. However, his gestures were vibrant, and I sensed the passion behind his voice. It got me looking forward to excavating tomorrow, and by excavating I mean boning the professor for an easy A-. Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So I gotta plan my schedule here. Holy shit snacks. All right. So Monday, dig time, sun time. All right, so what do we gotta do? All right, activities. I can study, browse the internet, inquire, game, socialize, play catch. So culture goes up, diligence goes up. Browsing the internet to lower my stress. Culture and empathy. Okay, so these are all... Okay, cool. Let's start with a little socializing. Why not? A little socializing. While I'm digging. During the day, I will... inquire. And in the evening, I shall... study. Oh gosh, I gotta go through my whole week? Okay, cool. You gotta plan this shit out, people. Alright, I want to study, that's what I'm here for, goddammit. Socialize a little bit, because that shit's important. And game, to cool off my stressy stress. Then we're going to... Oh, gaming increases empathy? I don't know. It depends on the game you're playing. I don't know if you've talked to a lot of gamers. It really depends. Okay, let's play some catch. Study a little more. Socialize. I'm gonna browse the interwebs. Inquire. Study. Yeah, I could almost just do this at random. I don't know. I'm always gonna study. Every day studying. Every day I'm studying. We're gonna game a little bit. We're going to socialize a little bit. Oh gosh, okay, and on the weekend, I can explore the museum. Dance? I get to dance? I want to dance. And then I'm going to explore the town. Okay, that's my first week. So let's see. Week 1, Monday. Like Sherry said, there was another lecture in the morning, complete with a whiteboard and Augustin demonstrating how to use a trowel. It's all in French, and Sherry was kind enough to translate some key phrases or remind me that I covered this with her before the trip. Wow, she's a bitch. The students were divided, with one half, me included, to head for the cave, while the other group would stay behind for lab work. The walk to the cave was roughly 10 minutes, passing through a narrow path in the sloped woods. The trickier sections had cement stairs installed, along with handles to prevent slipping. When we reached an ordinary-looking shed, Augustin pulled out his keys. I realized this was the cave entrance, or at least the artificial part of it. Once you're inside, please spread out so I can explain how to wet screen. Oh, God! The innuendo. It never ends. He repeated the instructions in French as we filed through one by one. There was a raised counter in the middle of plastic containers suspended on wooden supports. So this is where the wet screening takes place. Looked like it could only fit 2 people at a time. I wonder how often it will be used. Augustin demonstrated by lowering an empty metal sieve into a plastic container. Grabbing a hose, he mimed washing the screen and rooting through pretend dirt. As much as I tried to pay attention, the language barrier tested my focus, and my eyes started to wander. I am going to check out the posters. Posters depicted sedimentary layers, cave bears, and even proudly displayed pictures from previous excavations. They were definitely useful for references. If I could read French. Okay. Ur des cavernes must mean cave bear. At least I figured that one out. A shuffle brought me back to attention, and people were gathering buckets, tools, and knee pads. I followed and carried everything in my own bucket, including a sheet of paper encased in a plastic bag. So I've learned how to save cave bear, I guess. That's neat. Alright, the real entrance to the cave opened, leading to a narrow industrial catwalk suspended over the abyss. Once I walked through, the temperature dropped to a cool chill, and I zipped up my hoodie. Augustin directed students to various locations, while Sherry carefully slipped by and I followed. The cave opened up further in, with numerous stalactites and stalagmites everywhere. The catwalk railing disappeared where the ladders connected, or when it branched off into other segments of the cave. Sherry, where will I dig? I don't know why I said it that sexy, I apologize. Sherry leaned over the railing and pointed to one of the deeper parts. You'll be digging here. It's a 125,000-year-old layer. The very same one where they discovered the Neanderthal mandible. What? I'll be digging in such an important place already? Despite my nerves, I felt giddy inside. Sherry climbed down the ladder, and I trailed behind her. At the bottom of the ladder was another catwalk, positioned exactly in the middle. Now that my eyes adjusted to the dim light, I noticed there were strings and cords hung everywhere in a specific pattern, with notes nailed into the soil. Sherry brought me to the end of the catwalk, where there was yet another ladder, but this time much shorter. You'll be digging on the right side here. Here was a rather cozy-looking pit, a perfectly dug-out square. 2 to 3 people could probably move around freely in the space. It was almost right under the main catwalk higher up, too. This is your car, D32. Car, D32. Car means square, or carré, I don't know how it's said. Everything is separated into a grid system. Starting from the entrance of the cave, the utmost left to right, it goes B1, B2, A1, B1, and so forth. Oh, that's where the title comes from. I figured it out. It makes sense. It explains all the lines dangling from the ceiling, too. They're for measuring. Correct. Shall we take a closer look? The photographs for this row should be done already. I'll be right back. You can go ahead and set your items down. She retreated while I placed the bucket next to the shorter ladder. I descended, then grabbed the tools before I hopped off the last step. The layer I would be working on was mostly dirt, with the odd large rocks sticking out here or there. It would be easy to dig. By the time Sherry returned, I already had my knee pads out and the piece of paper next to me. Here we are, a picture of your square. She handed it to me. I could tell it was printed off in the highest resolution possible, fully inked and glossy. What do we use this photograph for? First things first, we distinguish each layer and outline it on the photograph. Once Augustin or myself check it over, you can go ahead and start excavating. This picture is an irreplaceable reference, and you'll find yourself relying on it often. Please don't lose it or get it tarnished. Sadly, Augustin is short-staffed at the moment. I'll be helping the other students since most are new to this too. Is there anything you'd like to go over? Type of excavation. Horizontal digging, but vertical. It was Augustin's idea. Stratigraphy. The study of rock layers is extremely important, and this excavation method ensures each layer is examined in great detail. It's also easier to compare the strata when you can view it as a whole. If you want to know about the cave in general or its stratigraphical approaches, you can ask Hendrik when he arrives. He's the resident geologist and Augustin's nephew. He's super cute. The details regarding the document paper. What is this? Quickly glanced at the first word at the top. Fiche thing, exactly. I know we've gone over how it's used to record finds, but I flipped it open, seeing a coordinate grid with a 0 in the lower left corner and ending at 100 for both X and Y axis. It looks complicated. It's a graph. Calm down. That. A little bit of math will come into play. You'll be measuring where you find the remains using both X and Y, along with the altitude Z. X runs parallel to the entrance, while Y goes from front to back. Every section is divided into 100 by 100 square centimeters. Yes, forgot that we'll be using the metric system. My mind's going to have fun adjusting to it. The grid helps, and you record what you find under this list labeled Nature. Each fiche or document has its own number already written along with a year. You fill out the car number, the layer name, and today's date. Oh, and write down the photo's number on it so there's no mix-ups. Did you get all that? Yeah, I guess. A lot to take in, but I think I grasp it. It's easier once you actually start, and I'll be there to help. Remember, 1 fiche per layer. I guess that's probably one of the mini-games they were talking about. Alright, what do you do once you find an artifact or bone? First, don't pluck it out like some amateur archaeologist. You'll lose the context. Measure it before you remove it, number it, then carefully wrap it in tinfoil. There will be a plastic bag you can use to store all your findings. How do you number the findings? Just by the order you find it in. 1, 2, or 3. Jot it down on a piece of paper and stick it in the tinfoil as well so it won't get lost. When you finish excavating the entire layer, seal everything found into a plastic bag along with the completed fiche. Believe me, you'll feel relieved to finally finish a layer. Handling each layer. When I've ended it up first, 1 layer at a time. That's the ideal approach. However, layers aren't perfect straight lines like in textbook diagrams. They widen and narrow, slant, or disappear completely. If you come to a situation where you have to dig through more than 1 layer, get some chips. They're delicious. Don't mix them. Because once you fill up a bucket, you'll be wet screening the material. Anything you overlook the first time, such as a bone, will then be deposited in a cup marked with that layer name. What happens if you find something extremely important, like an entire Neanderthal skull? I admit the image of suddenly pulling a complete skull out of the screening area was rather comical. You better hope Augustine doesn't see it. You never want to find flint or burnt bone in your tamissage, which is French for screaming. Keep a careful eye out, and if you find something you're unsure of, ask me or a fellow archaeologist. Alright. Give you some time to get familiar with your square. If you're struggling, remember, you can adjust the heat lamps. Also, the photograph's contrasts have been altered to help distinguish the sedimentary layers easily. I'll be back shortly. I glanced down at the photograph before comparing it to the vertical wall in front of me. No matter how closely I looked, everything was brown, 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 and more brown. How am I supposed to tell the difference of this brown layer from that brown layer? Not deterred, I picked up a pencil and began marking the more distinct sediments. I was a fucking hero at this point. I'm not deterred by anything. Eventually, it became less solid brown, and I could see reds and faint yellows within the soil. I told you I was a hero. I was so focused that I barely registered that I was not alone anymore. What is in your head? What's in his head? There's something in his head. Is he a cyborg? I'm not comfortable with this guy. A tall student stood by the square next to mine, already engaged in identifying the sediments. I paid him no heed until I became stumped on whether or not I was looking at one layer or two. What the fuck's in your head? I asked him. Quietly peering at his profile, he seemed rather familiar with the system. I guess it wouldn't hurt to ask him, or at least try to communicate. Can I get your opinion on something? Quiet student.
Ellipses. Another ellipses.
Hello? Bonjour? Still no reaction. I reached out and gave him a gentle tap on the shoulder. Whoa! The touch jolted him so abruptly that I retracted my hand. He whirled around, then glared at me. Oui? I'm not even going to try that. Sorry, I don't speak French. Non parle, no. Oh, Anglais. He placed his photograph on top of his square. Did you need something? Oh, he's deaf. That must be what it is. God damn it. I'm trying to figure out the layers, and I can't tell if this is one. Gently traced the soil, and then pretended to pinch the air to give an idea of width, or two. It seems reddish at the top. He grabbed his trowel, giving the vibe of a serious and no-nonsense person. Once I shuffled out of the way, he examined the area I indicated. 2. This stratum is more red, as you said, but gradually disappears around here. He etched a small line to mark the ending. I blinked as I recognized the differences, then nodded gratefully. Thanks so much. I mean, I sort of figured, but I wasn't sure either. It's nice to get a second opinion. I gave him a cheerful smile, but he remained impassive because he's a cyborg with robot pieces in his brain. Robot pieces! I'm Melissa. I'm the only foreign student here, if it wasn't obvious already with my language skills. Reluctantly, he switched the trowel to his left hand, and we gave a solid shake before letting go. Kyler. That's a really stupid name. And that was it. With nothing else to work from on his introduction, I decided to bring up his skills. I'm guessing you're aspiring to be an archaeologist? You appear to know what you're doing. He returned to his side of the square and knelt down, grabbing his photograph. Yes, this is my 4th time here, so I'm acquainted with the subject. Also, I'm a cyborg with earpieces. And you, especially since you're not from around here, well, I'm pretty serious about it, because fuck you, cyborg. You aren't gonna compete with me. I know what I'm doing. I don't need your shit. I didn't come all the way from California just to fuck cyborgs. I mean, experience this firsthand. I also love the idea of working on such an old archaeological site. I'm surprised that they assigned me to excavate a 125,000 layer. I looked upward. Most students got the upper strata to work with instead. For someone so interested, you did get distracted easily. Well, you're a fucking cyborg! It was all in French. I couldn't help but look around. Since we're excavating next to each other, that makes us square mates. Or that be care mates. That's dumb. Either way, I look forward to working alongside with you. He looked confused, but simply gave a mechanical nod because he's a cyborg! He's a mechanical cyborg! Right. Likewise. Even his last words felt artificial, and I lost him to his little world of microstratigraphy. He's a cyborg. Guess he values his concentration because he's a robot and shit. I mentally reminded myself to bring my earbuds for next time. I had a feeling we wouldn't be making such small talk out of excavation. Oh, he was listening to music. But because he's a cyborg and cyborgs love music, it has been proven it's in the Bible. The rest of the day was pretty uneventful. It was mostly a long wait for my photograph to be approved by Sherry, and then I got hit by jet lag. Despite my worries, Sherry said she would not deduct marks if I napped until dinner, although she did scold me for forgetting my journal. Oh, goddammit, I was hoping there would be some sort of minigame. I scanned the tables and maneuvered to where Sherry sat. I scooted to a spot on the bench and silently started on my meal. After a few bites, I poked at the pasta dejectedly and sighed. Oh, I really wish Paige was here. We promised to do so many things together, too. I glanced up hopefully at Sherry. I felt bad, but she was the only oasis in this unfamiliar place, and I clung to it. Not only that, aside from Kyler, none of the students greeted me, or even tried to converse with me. They're a bunch of assholes, and I hope they die in a horrible, horrible, cyborg-related death crime. I guess it's obvious I didn't attend the same university. Will I fit in? The question was more to myself, but Sherry overheard. Why I asked if I would fit in out loud to nobody, I'm not entirely sure. Worried? The students here can be reserved, but I'm sure there'll be a few brave ones who'd like to practice their English with you. Oh, it's awesome. I'm glad that they want to meet me because they don't speak the language. Awesome. They're probably too focused from the lectures and the tasks right now. Okay. True. Very true. I'm sure once we're all used to the routine here, I'll have more chances to mingle. I ate with gusto, feeling confident now. When I finished, Sherry glanced at my empty plate. Here, I'll take that for you. Try to get some rest. Her concern cheered me up, and I chided myself for feeling anxious when I had barely arrived. In my yellow tent, I couldn't help but yellow, 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 yellow. It was quickly yellowed, but I knew the yellow, yellow theme to issue yellow anywhere. I grabbed my 3DP. What the fuck is a 3DP? I don't know, but it's yellow. Was someone else playing? Might as well play some Ishtara. A little grinding will do me some good. I booted up the game, and the first notes of the theme song blared loudly. I had forgotten that my earbuds weren't hooked to the handheld. I slid the volume down, hoping it didn't startle anyone. The low spirits I felt earlier today melted away to the warm colors of the game. The gamey game. Okay. Well, okay. So I socialized, I inquired, and I studied. Okay, so I guess my day is gonna look the same no matter what. It's just me setting up stuff for my stats. Okay, alright, dawn of the third day tomorrow. My name is Phil the Conquistadork. This is my first, dating sim anime style game, I believe. If you don't count Honey Pop, which you probably shouldn't. I mean, maybe you could, but you probably shouldn't. Although, maybe. In any case, I am Phil the Conquistador. Please join me tomorrow. I might keep going with this. This might be genuinely interesting. In the meantime, in between time, please like, comment, and subscribe. Join me for more fun stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.